Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be practicing solving trigonometric equations. If you want to follow along, the links to the companion worksheet are in the description below. Also in this video I'm going to include a link to the unit circle document because we're going to be making extensive reference to that. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the videos that we have coming out from the channel. So, what we're given is we're given a trig equation and we're given a certain ratio. So here we're told that cosine of theta equals square root of 3 over 2 for 0 less than or equal to theta less than or equal to 360 degrees. So what does that mean? Well, we want to figure out the angle that makes cosine square root of 3 over 2. Now, when you have a unit circle like this one, that becomes very easy because on the unit circle, all the x values are cosine and all the y values are sine, which means that when you have an equation like this, then really all you have to do is get out your unit circle and just start looking. So where is cosine square root of 3 over 2? Well, right here. So that means we want the angle of 30 degrees. So I'll write down 30 degrees. And let's keep looking. So, no. Now if I go over here into the second quadrant, the x values are negative. And the same thing in the third quadrant. So I'm looking in the fourth quadrant right there. That's what I'm looking for, square root of 3 over 2. So the two angles where this happens is 30 degrees and 330 degrees. So now looking at number 2, we want to know when is tangent -1. Now, on the unit circle, it's very easy to find sine, that's the y value. To find cosine, that's the x value. But tangent, you have to take the y value, sine, divided by the x value. That's cosine. And so tangent, you're not going to be able to just match it like we just did for cosine. We have to do a little bit more. Now, if we stop and think about that, tangent we get by dividing sine over cosine. And so the answer we get is -1. Well, if we just stop and think about that, if we divide two numbers and get -1, what does that mean? Well, that means the numbers we got were opposites. So what we're looking for is we're looking for points where sine and cosine are opposite. So that means we're looking right here. Here they are opposite values. And so we're going to put 3 pi over 4 as our angle. And then we also look for where else are they opposites. And that's going to be right here at 7 pi over 4. Now you have to pay attention to what's given to you because oftentimes the teacher or the textbook will want you to give your angles in a certain mode, whether it's degrees or radians. And one clue is to look at this because this is a clue that, okay, we're talking about degrees, and this is a clue that we're talking about radians. So just be aware of that. Now, starting with number 3, we don't have cosine by itself. We have this 2/5, which means we have to multiply both sides by 5. And if we multiply both sides by 5, we get 2 cosine of alpha equals square root of 2. And then we have to divide both sides by 2. So that means we're left with cosine of alpha equals square root of 2 over 2. Now they tell us that alpha is between 0 and 2 pi, so we're looking at radians for this. So on our unit circle, where is cosine, that's the x value, square root of 2 over 2? Well, right here at pi over 4, and down here at 7 pi over 4. So those are our two answers, pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Now on the next page, here we're given cosecant squared of y equals 4. All right, so how do we get this? Well, we have to first take the square root to get cosecant by itself. So that means cosecant of y equals plus or minus 2. Because if cosecant squared is 4, then we could either square positive 2 or we could square negative 2. And we would get 4. So that means we've opened ourselves up to multiple values. Now cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So if cosecant is plus or minus 2, then sine is the reciprocal of that, which means positive or negative 1/2. Thing to be aware of is that we are in degree mode, but now we're looking for where sine is both positive or negative. So sine is the y value. So that's here at 30 degrees, but it's also here at 150, and down here at 210, and over here at 330. So these are the 4 places where sine is positive or negative 1/2. At 30 degrees, at 150 degrees, at 210 degrees, and at 330 degrees. So we write down all of those angles because they all produce a sine that is either positive or negative 1/2. Now for our last one, we have to get tangent by itself. So the first thing to do is add 1. So we have 3 times tangent squared of x equals 1. Then we have to divide by 3. So we get tangent squared of x equals 1/3. Now we have to take the square root of both sides in order to get tangent by itself. Now we can take the square root of 1, but we can't take the square root of 3. So we break this up, but the thing to remember is that when we take square roots, we have to have a positive or a negative. So this is going to equal plus or minus 1 over radical 3. Now oftentimes your teacher may want you to rationalize. So to rationalize this, we multiply by square root of 3 all over square root of 3. So we get plus or minus square root of 3 all over 3. Now a lot of people have complaints about this because, well, there is no square root of 3 over 3 on the unit circle. And you'd be right, there isn't. That's because to get tangent, remember, we have to take the y value and divide by the x value. So square root of 3 over 3 is what we want. So let's look at these 3 angles in the first quadrant. If I wanted to take sine and divide by cosine, that's going to be square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. But we never really divide fractions. Instead, what we do is we multiply by the reciprocal. So that's times 2 over 1. And so tangent for this angle, 60 degrees, is square root of 3. For this next one, we're going to be taking square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2. Well, without doing any computation, these two numbers are equal. So if you divide equal numbers, that just equals 1. Now over here, we're taking 1/2 and dividing that by square root of 3 over 2. So we rewrite that as 1/2 times 2 over square root of 3. And what do we get? We get 1 over square root of 3. Wait a minute, we just saw that. That's right there. So we've got it. So we're looking at this point right here. And what we're looking for is any other points on the unit circle that resemble this. And that's going to be this point over here, because they only differ by a negative, which is going to make this negative square root of 3 over 3, which is okay. Along with this point, if we divide these, it's still going to be square root of 3 over 3, but it will be positive. And then down over here, this will be negative. So our answer is going to be the 4 angles pi over 6, comma, 5 pi over 6, comma, 7 pi over 6, comma, 11 pi over 6. It's going to be these 4 angles that produce a tangent ratio of 1 over radical 3, or if your teacher wants it rationalized, square root of 3 over 3. But numerically, they're the same thing. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have suggestions or problems you want to see worked out, type a comment below. To support the channel, click the Patreon link to help keep this going. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, the best way to understand something is to do it.